Part 1. My daughter is the kind of kid who reads instruction manuals for fun. She's 17, quiet, stubborn, and has never once asked me for money without already having a plan for how she'll pay it back. I used to think that meant I was doing something right. I'm 44. I work in compliance for a hospital network, boring, steady, rules and audits and risk assessments. I'm the person people roll their eyes at when I ask, "Do we have documentation for that?" I like being that person. It makes the world feel predictable. So when Nora came home on a Saturday afternoon waving a scratched-up iPhone like a trophy, I didn't feel alarm. I felt mildly annoyed. "Flea market," she said, dropping it on the kitchen table. $20. Turns on. "Why do you need another phone?" I asked. She shrugged. "I don't. I want to take it apart. Practice. Maybe flip it." That sounded like Nora. Practical curiosity. I told her fine, but no sketchy apps. No using my Apple ID. No jailbreak tutorials from random forums. She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. I went back to folding laundry and didn't think about that phone again until after dinner, when she appeared in the doorway looking pale. "Dad," she said, "can you come here? I think I found something." Part 2. She led me to her room like she was afraid the walls would overhear. The old phone was on her desk, screen lit up. There was no passcode, no Face ID. Whoever owned it before had left it wide open. Nora had opened the Notes app. At the top was a note titled Wallet Backup. Under it was a string of 12 words, separated by spaces. Even before my brain caught up, my stomach tightened. I'd seen those lists before. Seed phrases, recovery phrases, the keys to a crypto wallet. Nora whispered, "Is this what I think it is?" "It could be," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Or it could be fake. People write down anything." She'd already opened an app called Trust Wallet. It was installed, still logged in. The balance flashed for half a second, then loaded fully, and Nora made a small choking sound. $2,013 XXX and change. A number so big it looked like a glitch. The kind of number you see in articles about people who got lucky early and forgot passwords until it was too late. I stared at it until my eyes hurt, waiting for it to refresh to 0. Didn't. Nora's hands hovered over the phone without touching it. "We shouldn't look," she said, but her voice didn't match the words. I should have taken the phone away, turned it off, put it in a drawer and called someone. Instead, I sat on the edge of her bed and said, "Let's just slow down. Don't do anything." Denial is weird. It doesn't feel like lying. It feels like staying reasonable. Part 3. The next morning I acted normal. I made coffee. I paid bills. I checked my email. I even went for a run, like keeping my routine could keep my life from changing. But every 10 minutes my mind snapped back to that number. $2 million. Money that could erase my mortgage, my ex-wife's lingering alimony resentment, Nora's future tuition anxiety. Money that could buy a quieter life. My first impulse was ethical. Find the owner. Return it. Be the person I tell myself I am. Then the practical part of my brain chimed in. How do you even return crypto? Who is the owner? A wallet address isn't a name. A seed phrase isn't a phone number. Nora was quiet all day. She didn't ask to go out. She didn't talk about homework. She kept glancing at her desk like the phone might crawl away. That night I asked, "Did you tell anyone?" She shook her head too fast. "No, I swear." I believed her because I wanted to. We sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, looking up what to do when you find a crypto wallet. Most advice boiled down to, don't touch it, don't move it, consult an attorney. I told Nora, "We're going to do this clean. No transfers. No screenshots. We'll talk to a lawyer." She nodded, relief flickering across her face like she'd been holding her breath. Then she said, almost inaudible, "Dad, if we did move it, could they stop us?" And there it was. Not greed exactly. Possibility. The sensation of standing in front of an unlocked door. I hated that I didn't immediately say no. Part 4. On Monday, I called a lawyer who'd helped me with my divorce. He wasn't a crypto expert, but he knew enough to sound cautious, which is sometimes the same thing. He told me not to do anything on the phone, not to test it, not to move a dollar just to see. He said possession was complicated, that accessing someone else's wallet could be treated like theft even if you found the keys by accident. Think of it like finding a briefcase full of cash, he said. You don't get to keep it because it was on a bench. I said, but what if the owner can't be found? He paused. Then you document everything and you still don't touch it. You let it sit. Let it sit. $2 million sitting in a phone my daughter bought for $20. After I hung up, I felt a wave of relief. There was a path, rules, documentation, a way to stay the person I thought I was. That evening I told Nora we'd bring the phone to the lawyer's office so he could advise us properly. She nodded, but her eyes didn't meet mine. She chewed her thumbnail, something she hadn't done since she was little. Are you okay? I asked. She hesitated. I'm fine. I didn't press. I was trying to be calm, responsible, in control. Later, when she went to shower, I walked into her room and looked at the phone on the desk. Felt like it was staring back at me. I picked it up. My thumb hovered over the wallet app. Just to confirm. Just to see it again. I told myself that wasn't touching it. Part 5. I opened the wallet and stared at the holdings. It wasn't all one coin. There was a mix: Bitcoin, Ethereum, some stable coins, a few tokens I didn't recognize. Enough variety to suggest someone who knew what they were doing. Then I saw the transaction history. Large transfers in and out. Some from exchange addresses. Some from wallets with names people on forums would recognize. It didn't look dormant. It looked active until 3 months ago when the activity stopped abruptly. That should have been my clue that this wasn't a forgotten wallet. This was an interrupted life. My hand shook slightly as I scrolled, and with that came shame. Not because I was stealing, I still hadn't moved anything, but because I was enjoying the feeling, like I'd found a secret passage out of my life. The next morning, a new message appeared in the wallet app. Not a text message. An on-chain note attached to a tiny incoming transaction. The equivalent of a penny, sent from a random address. The memo read, "If you have this phone, contact me. Reward." Nora found it before I could hide it. She walked into the kitchen holding the phone out like it was contaminated. "It's real," she whispered. "Someone's looking." My lawyer brain, the one trained on risk, immediately said, "Good. The owner exists. We can resolve this." My human brain said, "Reward." Nora's eyes were wide, frightened and excited in equal measure. "What do we do?" I swallowed. "We contact the lawyer. We don't reply directly." Nora nodded, then paused. "Dad, what if the owner is dangerous?" That was twist 1, and it recontextualized everything. This wasn't abandoned. This was found. And found things sometimes belong to people who don't like questions. Part 6. We drove to the lawyer's office with the phone turned off in a small metal tin Nora used for pencils. Like that would somehow block whatever invisible attention crypto money attracts. The lawyer looked at the message, then at me, and his expression changed from curiosity to the kind of caution doctors get when they see a weird lab result. He said, "Do not contact them from your personal accounts. If you respond, do it through counsel. Also," he hesitated, "you need to consider where this money came from." He explained tracing, chain analysis, the fact that high-dollar wallets get watched. He said, "If this is connected to fraud, theft, ransomware, you do not want to be the person who moved it." I felt my face get hot. "But we didn't create it," I said. "We found a phone." He nodded. "That helps. But you need to treat it like evidence, not like winnings." Evidence. That word did something to Nora. Her shoulders tightened. The lawyer suggested we document the purchase, receipt, flea market vendor, date, any witness. Nora didn't have a receipt. The flea market didn't do receipts. She'd paid in cash and laughed about the old guys, cash-only sign at the time. The lawyer also suggested we file a report with local police about finding a device with possible stolen property on it. He said it would create a record that we weren't hiding anything. Nora's eyes filled. "Police?" she said. Are we in trouble? No, I said quickly, and I meant it, but my voice didn't sound convincing. On the way home, Nora stared out the window and said, "So we just give it back?" I didn't answer immediately. I heard myself breathing. "Probably," I said. She whispered, "Even if it could pay for college?" And that was the first time I felt anger. Not at her, but at the universe for dangling relief in front of us like a test. Part 7. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my own bills, my own compromises. I'd been responsible for so long it had hardened into identity. And now a mistake, $20 at a flea market, had put my daughter's future and my moral self-image on the table. Around 2 a.m. I went to the kitchen, opened my laptop, and searched the wallet address on a block explorer. I didn't need to. I wanted to. Within minutes, I found a thread on a crypto forum discussing that address. People were calling it the Hydra wallet, like it was a legend. Someone claimed it had received funds linked to a 2021 exchange hack. Someone else said it was connected to a busted OTC desk. The thread was a mess of speculation, but one thing was clear. People had been watching it. Then I saw another comment. Newer. Hydra moved again? Anyone tracking? But the date was 3 months ago. The same time the wallet went quiet. I sat there in the dark kitchen, the fridge humming, feeling small. If strangers on the internet knew that wallet, then the owner messaging us wasn't just some forgetful guy. This was money that had a story attached to it, and stories like that pull in the wrong kind of attention. The next morning, Nora was unusually sweet, which is always a bad sign. She made me toast. She asked about my day. She lingered at the counter. Finally, she said, "I think we should move it, just a little, to prove we can." My chest tightened. "No. It's not stealing if it's a test," she said, and it sounded like something she'd rehearsed. I stared at her. "Where did you get that idea?" She looked away. Nowhere, but her cheeks were red. Twist 2. Nora wasn't just scared. She was already bargaining. And I realized, with a sick drop in my stomach, that so was I. Part 8. That afternoon I got a call from my ex-wife, Lacey, which was normal only in the sense that she always called when something financial was about to become my problem. She said, "Nora told me something weird." My heart stopped for a beat. "What did she tell you?" Lacey hesitated, and I could hear the thrill in her voice, the way she got when gossip became leverage. She said she found a phone with Bitcoin? Is that true? I closed my eyes. "She shouldn't have told you." "So it's true," Lacey said. And there it was, confirmation shaped like accusation. "How much?" "Enough," I said. Lacey laughed once. "Oh my God, are you kidding me? After all these years of you lecturing me about budgeting, you just find a fortune?" "It's not ours," I said, and I tried to make it sound firm. Lacey's tone sharpened. "If Nora found it, it's hers. That's not how it works. It is if you want your daughter to ever trust you," she said. Then softer, "You know she's applying out of state. Do you have any idea what that costs?" I felt anger rise, followed quickly by guilt, because she wasn't wrong about the cost. We'd been circling that reality for months, pretending scholarships would magically appear. "Don't tell anyone else," I said. Lacey scoffed. "I'm not an idiot." But she was already imagining what she could do with money she didn't have. When I hung up, I went straight to Nora. "You told your mother." Nora's eyes went wide. "I didn't tell her the address," she said quickly. "I just said there was money." "Why?" I asked, and I hated how my voice shook. She whispered, "Because I wanted someone to say it was okay." That hit me harder than greed. She didn't want the money. She wanted permission. And I realized I'd been waiting for the same thing. Part 9. That evening the wallet received another tiny transaction. Another penny. Another memo. "Last chance before I escalate. You took my phone." My skin went cold. The word escalate didn't belong in a normal life. It belonged in scams and threats and men who didn't need to raise their voice because they had other tools. Nora sat at the table gripping her water glass. "This is my fault," she whispered. It's not, I said automatically, but my mind was already racing through worst-case scenarios. Someone showing up at our house, my job finding out, Nora getting dragged into something because she bought a stupid phone. I called the lawyer. He said, do not engage directly. Save everything. And if you're feeling threatened, you file a police report. So we did. 2 tired officers came to our house, looked at the phone like it was an alien object, took a statement that sounded ridiculous out loud. My daughter bought a used phone and it had a crypto wallet, and promised to note it. They asked for the phone. I hesitated. Giving it away felt like losing control. That's when I made the worst decision of the whole thing. I told them we'd bring it to the station in the morning. I wanted one more night with it like I was guarding something valuable. After they left, Nora said, Dad, are we safe? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to be the calm, responsible parent. Instead I said, we're probably fine, which is what people say when they're not fine. That night, I moved the phone into my bedroom and slept with it in my nightstand, like it was a weapon. Part 10. At 6:12 a.m., my doorbell camera pinged. Not a delivery, not a neighbor. A man standing on my porch in a dark hoodie, hands in pockets, looking straight at the lens like he knew it was there. My whole body went rigid. He didn't knock. He just stood there for a full minute, then stepped off the porch and walked out of frame. When I checked the street, there was a car idling a house down, pulled away slowly. I didn't see a face clearly enough to identify, but the message was clear. Someone knew where I lived. Nora came downstairs and saw my expression. What? She asked. I showed her the clip. Her face drained. We didn't wait for the station. We called the police again. They came, watched the clip, shrugged in that helpless way cops do when there isn't something they can put in a report with a neat label. Could be a wrong house, one officer said, but he didn't sound convinced. Twist 3. The threat wasn't abstract anymore. It had a porch light. The officer finally said, bring the device in now, today. Don't keep it here. Nora started crying, quiet and furious, like she was angry at herself for being scared. In the car, she said, if we just send him the wallet, if we just give him the seed phrase, maybe he stops. I gripped the steering wheel. Or maybe he learns you're easy to scare, I said. That sounded harsh, but it was the truth. I didn't want her to learn from anyone else. At the station, they took the phone into an evidence bag like it was a bag of drugs. A detective asked questions about the flea market, about the seller, about whether Nora had taken screenshots. No, Nora said. No, I didn't. I watched her say it and wondered if it was true. Part 11. For a week, there was silence. No porch visitor. No new memos. My nerves stayed wound-tight anyway. I jumped at every car door. I checked the locks twice. Then the detective called and said, we have federal interest in this. Those words turned my stomach. He didn't explain much. He just said the wallet address was associated with an ongoing investigation and that moving funds could have triggered automated alerts. I told him we hadn't moved anything. He asked, are you sure? I said yes too quickly. That afternoon, 2 agents showed up at my job. Not in sunglasses, not dramatic, just clean-cut men with badges who asked to speak with me in a conference room. My coworkers watched me walk away like I was getting fired. The agents were polite, which somehow made it worse. They asked about the phone, the wallet, whether I'd ever traded crypto, whether Nora had friends into it, whether anyone had contacted us. They asked if I had the seed phrase written down. I said, no. They looked at each other for half a second. One agent said, we found a copy of the seed phrase in a note synced to an email address. Whose email is that? My mouth went dry, because Nora had, in fact, logged the phone into Wi-Fi at our house. The Notes app was synced, meaning the seed phrase had traveled to somewhere. Twist 4. Even doing nothing had already left fingerprints. And the person the fingerprints pointed to was my daughter. Part 12. When I got home, Nora was on the couch hugging her knees, eyes red. Lacey was there too, sitting rigidly, like she'd claimed a right to witness the fallout. Nora didn't wait for me to ask. I emailed it to myself, she whispered, just in case. In case of what? I asked, and my voice came out sharper than I meant. She flinched. In case the cops lost it. In case you made me give it up and then it turned out we could've. She stopped, shaking. Lacey jumped in. Don't yell at her, she said. She's a kid. I stared at my ex-wife. This isn't about yelling, I said. This is about federal agents asking me why my daughter has the keys to $2 million. Lacey's face tightened. Maybe if you weren't so scared all the time, she wouldn't have to protect herself. Nora started crying harder. I didn't tell anyone else, she said, pleading. I swear. But when I asked about her boyfriend, Cam, who'd suddenly started coming around more lately, asking weird questions about blockchains, Nora went quiet. Did you tell Cam? I asked. She whispered. He saw it. My stomach dropped. How? He was here, she said. He looked over my shoulder. He got excited. He said he knew how to move it safely. I told him no. Did he take a picture? I asked. Nora's silence was an answer. The false resolution I'd been clinging to, that turning the phone over to police meant it was over, died right there on my living room couch. Because now the wallet wasn't just evidence. It was a contagion. Part 13. 2 days later, Cam tried to break into our garage. Not with a ski mask or anything dramatic. He came at 9 p.m. While my porch light was on like he was entitled to it. He'd forgotten something, he said, and when I confronted him, he had the kind of calm people get when they've already justified themselves. I'm not stealing, he said. Nora found it. It's hers. I'm helping. I told him to leave. He didn't at first. He kept talking, fast and persuasive, about cold storage and mixers and tax-free jurisdictions. Like he'd been watching videos all week. Nora stood behind me, crying silently, like she was watching her own life get rewritten by someone else. When Cam finally left, he spat. You're going to ruin her future. That night, Nora admitted he'd demanded she forward him the seed phrase. She said she hadn't. She said she'd deleted the email to herself. She said she'd tried to do the right thing after the porch guy showed up. I believed her and didn't believe her at the same time, which is a special kind of misery. I called the agents back and told them about Cam. They took his name, his number, his social handles. They sounded unsurprised. One of them said, "This is how people get hurt." After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table and felt something heavy settle in me. Anger? Yes, but also relief. Because at least the fear had a shape now. At least it wasn't just in my head. Then shame followed because my first instinct had been to hide the seed phrase myself. To keep a just in case. I'd raised a careful kid, and the world had handed her a test designed to break careful people. Part 14. The agents got a warrant for Nora's laptop and phone. Watching them take her devices felt like watching someone strip search my family. Nora didn't protest. She looked numb, like she'd already decided she deserved whatever happened. Lacey exploded, of course. She accused me of handing our daughter to the government. She threatened lawsuits. She cried in my driveway. But none of that mattered. Money changes the rules around it. A week later, the detective called and said they'd identified the original owner of the wallet. A man who'd been arrested 3 months ago in connection with a large-scale crypto theft ring. The phone had been seized during a search, then somehow ended up in a police auction lot, then a reseller's pallet, then the flea market. So the owner messaging us wasn't a wronged victim. He was a criminal trying to claw back his stash. That recontextualized the porch visitor. It wasn't a random threat. It was retrieval. The agents told me the wallet funds were likely proceeds of crime. They'd be forfeited. If we cooperated and could show we didn't move anything, we'd likely avoid charges. Likely is a cruel word. They also told me something else, quietly. If Nora had forwarded the seed phrase to Cam, and if Cam attempted a transfer, even if it failed, that could still be considered access. Nora sat across from me when I told her, eyes hollow. I didn't move anything, she said. I swear. I believed her, and I hated that believing her didn't fix anything. Part 15. Cam's family moved him out of state for his safety, which is a funny way to say they knew exactly what he tried to do. Nora blocked him, deleted everything, and still flinched when her phone buzzed, even after the agents returned it. My job put me on administrative leave, pending review. They didn't accuse me of anything. They just didn't like the phrase federal investigation anywhere near a compliance officer. The money, the $2 million that had lit up on Nora's screen like a miracle, was gone in the way things disappear when they were never really yours. A court order, a seizure, a locked wallet turned into a line item in someone else's case file. Nora didn't get a reward. The reward had been bait. She also didn't get closure. She got nightmares. She got an anxiety twitch in her jaw. She got an admission letter from her first-choice school that she read without smiling, because money had started to feel like a trap instead of a tool. Sometimes, late at night, I replay the moment she called me into her room. The way I walked in calm and certain, thinking my biggest job was to keep her from downloading malware. I used to believe control was something you earned by being careful. Now I'm not sure it's real at all. I'm not sure if I was ever responsible, or if I was just lucky enough to live inside a set of rules that hadn't been tested yet. The unsettling part is that nothing actually happened. No stolen transfers, no shootouts, no dramatic arrests in my living room. Just memos, agents, paperwork, and the slow realization that $2 million can enter your house through a cracked screen and leave behind damage you can't pay to undo.